Welcome to the 8th annual Southwest Ohio GiveCamp. The weather is fighting against us because it's too nice out this weekend, but this should be the biggest one regarding we had the most number of nonprofits apply this year, and we had the most number of volunteers we've ever had apply also. But a lot of them are not here yet because it's a nice weekend, so we'll see how many come. So basic agenda for this opening ceremonies, we're going to go over some rules, introductions, and stuff at the end. But the main point of it is to let you know about the nonprofits and about the projects. So pay attention during the project presentations because we're going to form teams immediately after the opening ceremonies presentation. So that way, if you're paying attention, make some notes, what nonprofits you like their mission, what projects, technologies you like, etc. So you can form your own teams then. Before we do this, let's see who we have here. Everybody stand up. We've heard of the anniversary dance at weddings. This is the Years of Service GiveCamp dance. So everyone that's their first GiveCamp, sit down. Okay. Everyone that's their second GiveCamp, sit down. Third. Fourth. Fifth. Sixth. Seventh. And everyone that's been here all 8 years. Wow. Stay standing. All right, so with the board of directors here, Mike and Matt are over there, I'm here, Jason's up over there. Ryan's busy with kid stuff, so he's not here right now. He'll be here for a little bit tomorrow. But more than that, we have the organizers. The board of directors, we just kind of lead the different committees and groups sort of thing. The organizers also include Joe Combs, who's standing over there. Angie Roby, who I think is making coffee right now. And Tim Lewis, who's up there at the table. So we call ourselves organizers, and that's kind of what we do leading up to this event. We organize everything leading up to it. Here we're kind of the facilitator to help you guys what you need to do to get your project done over the weekend. So our roles kind of change. It's organizing, recruiting, everything else, and now we have to make sure you guys have the supplies, food and drink, and everything else to get your projects done. We have something new this year. We have a presenting sponsor. We've always done sponsorships. This is always the question we get most often. How do you do GiveCamp? How do you do all this for free? We do it with sponsorships. So this year, Emeritus stepped up. They heard about what we did. Said it's really interesting. They helped us reach out to some other organizations as well. And they said, how much does it cost to run GiveCamp? And we told them, and they said, okay, we'll write a check. So they're the presenting sponsor this year.
Yeah.
So in addition, we continue to have our other sponsors we also have as well. I mean, we always welcome sponsorship. So Engaged Partners, Michael was standing over there behind the wall. Centric, I don't know everyone from representing organizations here, but if you're here, wave your hand so everybody can acknowledge you. Sparkbox, Brian was there. I don't know if anybody else from Sparkbox is here to volunteer, but so. We also had several silver sponsors as well. Alan Hamilton, that's me. Thrive, Michael was involved with that as well, I think. Pinnacle is Mike. Work is Jason. And then we had personal donations. And a lot of the Engage employees donated money, and we also had several people when they signed up on Eventbrite donate money as well. So any donations help. More we have, the more projects we can do. And then this year we're also going to be able to help the nonprofits with some other things as well. So. And then finally, a lot of the organizations we get our food and stuff from give us in-kind donations, being donating a large portion of it or giving us big discounts, etc., sort of things. So you can get a preview of the menu with some of these things some of the organizations we have. But these were the ones that help us out. Everleap has been with us since the first year. They changed names, but they've been providing sponsorships for our nonprofits since the first year. So that's been a great help as well. So special thanks to Miami. Brad Farr is standing up there in Norway. Rod Nips is the director, but Brad's out for illness, so Brad's the acting director, I guess would be the term for right now. But Brad's also been here all 8 years we've done this and helped us out with IT things and everything else and that sort of thing. So thank you, Brad. So contact information. The Twitter handle's up there if you want to see that. We always use the SWOGC hashtag if you're into that. We do a lot of communications from Slack this weekend. We started that a couple years ago. Some of the teams use it a lot, some use it less. It's up to you guys what you want to do. We have announcements on there every once in a while, but we also communicate in traditional ways as well. So if you want to go, if you haven't joined the Slack group, there's the link directly to do it. Doors will probably not be locked out, but we'll go over that at the rules at the end. In the past, they always have been, so make sure you have your badge with you at all times anyways. But we're probably not going to lock the doors this year because we've been here for so long. Brad's been nice to us in that regard. Schedule events. We already went through registration. We're here at opening ceremonies. Immediately following opening ceremonies with team selection, then we'll have dinner set up outside the doors. You can get your dinner and go straight to your team rooms. And development begins. So all night tonight, overnight, is development. Stay as long as you would like. Mike and Jason both have campers out in the parking lot, so organizers will be here. Tomorrow morning we'll have a hot breakfast served by Engage for us at 8 a.m. We're going to have nonprofits come into the command center at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. So nonprofits, please make sure you're at 10. We'll have a little meeting at that time to see how they feel things are going. Then at noon, we have our group picture. Immediately after that, we have lunch tomorrow. For any of you that signed up already ahead of time, we have Kids Code Camp at 2 o'clock, which lasts about an hour. They do Hour of Code, it's called, and teach some kids some basics about coding sort of thing. I know a bunch of people signed up for that already. And then we'll have another nonprofit tomorrow right at dinner time, or right after, before dinner time, at 5 o'clock. To make sure everything's where you think it's going to be, have any expectations. Then dinner at 6, and then it actually will close at midnight tomorrow night. So we found over the years that people get worn out, people don't stay the second night anyways, so rather than paying for a security guard and everything else, we just close at midnight and have people get somewhat of a night's sleep that way. We'll open up again at 7 o'clock Sunday morning, have a continental breakfast because Sunday morning is always trickling in, slower arrival, and not everyone's here at the same time like it is on Saturday. We'll have another nonprofit stand up Saturday or Sunday morning. We want to make sure everything's exactly where you're at and head up any problems. The most important part of Sunday is to make sure your nonprofits get training of some kind. We say in the AM, so that way in the afternoon, then you can finish wrapping things up and get ready for closing ceremony, any bugs you find during training, etc. sort of thing. But team leads, make sure you give them training. Nonprofits, make sure your team leads give you training that morning. Lunch is at noon, and then closing ceremonies will be at 3. And we usually are done and out of here by about 4:15. So, a few rules. Miami is a smoke-free campus. That means no smoking in a building, no smoking in your car, no walking out by the dumpster or anything like that. It's a smoke-free campus. Building limited at night. That probably will not be an issue this year. But also be considerate, please clean up around yourselves. They'll have janitors come in and clean the building and stuff, but the more we can help out and clean up and get our trash in the trash cans and that sort of thing, the better. So, with that, we'll start with nonprofit introductions. And I put this map together last year and I added one this year. We call this Southwest Ohio GiveCamp. We need to collect zip codes of the volunteers also, so that way we know where they're from. We haven't done that. That's an improvement for next year. But this is a map of where our nonprofits are from this year. There's only 12 bullets up there because there's a repeat of the Cincinnati zip code and a repeat of the Dayton zip code. But we cover both Dayton and Cincinnati area. So the way this will work is I'll have the nonprofit representative come up first. They're going to have 3, 4, 5 minutes at the very most to explain their mission and a little bit about their project, and then the team lead can stand up and talk about what technologies and what help they're looking for the weekend. So they're in alphabetical order, so nonprofits can anticipate where you'll be based on that. Caring Partners International is first, and their representative is Rhonda Reed.
Well, I was hoping I wouldn't be first. This is my first GiveCamp. I wasn't sure what to expect. I do want to just, wow, it's awesome to see this room full of people that you're willing to donate an ability that God's given you to be a blessing. And I just pray you get a blessing out of that. The Ministry of Caring Partners, what we do is we equip churches all over the world with health care. So they can go into their own community, to their own neighbors, and meet physical and spiritual needs. One of the ways we do that is we take international medical mission teams overseas and set up an urgent care in a church and get local providers to help bring people. Again, we're not creating a new distribution center. That church is already there in that community that knows their people and they know their needs and they can reach out and provide holistic health care. One of the other ways that we work here in the tri-state by partnering with corporations that are willing to donate resources and their employee time and create care packs that we give out through churches, again, to people in need, diapers, personal care, home health. There's so many needs here in the States, and we're addressing that again, not in our name, and not creating our own distribution center, but through a local church. Something I do want to read because it's a statistic that pertains to this project and pertains to our need. And it's the World Health Organization. About 16,000 children under the age of 5, 11 every minute, die every day, mainly from causes which could have been prevented by an antibiotic or other basic medication. That's almost 6 million children around the world perishing each year due to a lack of even the most basic health care. In our ministry, we're a 501c3, but we have a pharmacy license. But the problem is, so we are serving those people. That statistic addresses children like that all over the world, but we don't have an inventory program to be able to satisfy our auditors to be able to get this medication out. And even without that program, we shipped out last year more than $6 million of medicine. Again, to save children's lives and adults and elderly people all over this world. So we need help. We need your help to create this inventory program. And Joe will share a little bit more about that. So if that's not enough, the need, that you're going to pack thousands of people around the world, I also brought cookies.
Yeah, so we're taking a Excel spreadsheet-based workflow, and we're going to put it on the web. But it's going to be local. Actually, they're going to have their own laptop dedicated to that. So it's about managing the application right there, even though we'll create it. So I'm planning on having a Java backend. The front end will depend on the team. The technologies we're comfortable with for that. Database backend. So if you're interested, it's going to be from ground up. We're going to build a custom application to support this. Thank you.
So next up we have Crossover Community Development. Their speaker is, I should ask how to pronounce his last name, Catherine Bidwake.
Everyone, my name is Catherine Bitwaiki. I'm from Rwanda. If I was to ask one question, do you know whether there are 10, maybe more churches of African in Dayton? Does anyone know about this? No. That is why we are here today. It's because there are many ministries going overseas, but they haven't realized that right here in Dayton, there are as many refugee families need of help. So some of these people, they came here just from refugee camp, and because of lack of English skill, they cannot thrive here in America. So our organization is trying to help this refugee family to learn English so that they can lead a more happier, fulfilling life. And our project this weekend, we want to increase the visibility of that community, also the work we are doing in the community, but also we plan to make a website as an educational tool to teach these new American English and life skills.
Okay, this project is going to be a WordPress website. Aren't you excited? Actually, WordPress is going to be kind of the easier part, and what I'm hoping that who would be on my team, not necessarily WordPress experts, but possibly English as a second language background type of people that have ever done any type of that type of work. I definitely would like and invite marketing type of people, some designer type of people. I think the WordPress side of it's going to be pretty straightforward, easy for us to handle. Their objective is to get the word out about who they are and what they are, making it a compelling website. I think we get that covered. Some design to make it even more compelling. Then also we want to have it easy to get the grants information out, make it easy for it to collect sponsorship or donorship information, make it very easy for people to volunteer and plug in. So we're looking at lots of engagement, stickiness on the website. So people that are thinking creatively, designing, marketing, that would be great. And if you ever worked on English as a second language type of e-learning, that'd be great too. We're going to be exploring some desktop screen video recordings with a PowerPoint presentation, recording that, possibly putting it into YouTube and bringing that back down as a link on the website. So we're going to explore a lot of other areas.
I will say a little something. There's lots of ESL programs around, and what Catherine wants to do different is that she wants to include employment and hands-on skills into English learning, because African immigrants in particular, which is where she's from, they have a harder time. They come from oral cultures where they don't have as much of a visual learning background like we do, and so it's harder for them to learn English in a classroom setting, which is about all that's available. So this project is to help them learn English in a different way that might help them learn it more verbally, so that they can engage in employment quicker, and that they can go into a classroom setting quicker and learn a little bit better. We're trying to give them the skills, the oral language skills, more quickly, so that they can get, because like even children, when they go into school and learn how to read, they've already got oral language. Well, a lot of English ESL teaching is reading-based, and that's very, very difficult for these people. So this is a little different. It's a different take on things, and we hope that it becomes a model for ESL teaching, especially for people in oral cultures in other parts of the United States as well.
Next up, we have Elizabeth New Life Center. Their representative is Meg Carnahan.
I already set off an alarm, I'm sorry. So I'm the director of Women's Centers with Elizabeth New Life Center. What we do, we operate 6 women's centers in Southwest Ohio, ranging as north as Sydney, Ohio, down south to Sharonville. And our mission is to empower women and to empower families. So what we provide are free pregnancy tests and free ultrasounds to any woman who would walk through our doors. Our goal is to, 1, help them to receive insurance, because there's a loophole in our system, I know, surprise, but you cannot go and receive or sign up for Medicaid without proof of your pregnancy. Well, you cannot get proof of pregnancy at a doctor's office without insurance. So they're stuck. So we do that for free. And that's why we offer that pregnancy test and that ultrasound, to be able to give them that service. We also offer continual support after that. So once they do find out that they are pregnant, lots of time women are coming to us in an unintended pregnancy. So they're just really not sure what to do. We educate them about every choice that they possibly have and let them know that regardless of what choice they choose, we will be there to support them. And the way that you guys are going to help us is through our material assistance. So we allow women to continue to come to us, and they can go to classes. They can do individual classes as well as group classes, where they'll learn everything they can about parenting, and we never cut them off. So it's not that they can continue to have classes until they're 32 weeks pregnant. No, they can continue coming as long as they want to. When they go to classes, they earn what we call our baby bucks. They utilize those baby bucks in our stores, in our boutiques, and we have 4 of those. So they can purchase every single thing that they will need for that baby through our classes and through our boutique. How we need your help is that we have all of these things, but we have no way of tracking or keeping control of our supply and demand. So that's how you guys would help us.
As Meg said, they're going to take their existing inventory system, nothing, and we're going to write something from scratch. So we do not even have Excel sheets or anything like that to work with. We have talked about what they want, and we are going to do a Microsoft-based project through Azure and with Angular front end. So if anybody wants to do some modern web development, we have a SQL Server API. Most of the database work is done, but anybody who's got web development skills or background in inventory management would like to join us. Those are the kind of people we're looking for.
Next up, we have Good Works Farm. Their representative is Nancy Bonatitis.
Oh my gosh, you did it. I might struggle with that a little bit. Thank you. I want to thank you all for being here and for supporting us and all the nonprofits this weekend. I just am so blown away by how many people are here. It's amazing. I'm Nancy Bernatitis, and I'm the founder and executive director of Good Works Farm. We are a farmstead community of services for the developmentally disabled and the entire family, which is a little bit unique. 1 in 6 is diagnosed with a developmental disability, and that's lifelong. As you can imagine, there are not enough services, so we're trying to fill a need. I have a 20-year-old son with autism, and he also has epilepsy, and so he cannot live independently, and he will never live independently. And so we're trying to create a community of services for people like Sam. I was trying to think of what I could say about our organization today, and instead I brought some testimonials from camp. We provide day camp for individuals with developmental disabilities from ages 5 and up, and their typical siblings. So everybody gets to go to camp together. And so that's what we're going to work on this weekend, is providing a web-based registration system for camp, for the families to register for camp, and for volunteers to also register. We've been doing it with spreadsheets, and it's growing beyond my capacity. So I did want to share a testimonial that we had from a family that attended camp, and it really speaks for all of the families we serve. She says, "We can't thank you all enough for letting both of our boys attend Good Works Farm Camp this year. This was the first time both of our children have ever been able to attend any event together. This was a huge deal for us because although our 7-year-old autistic son has a plethora of appointments, therapies, etc., his younger 5-year-old, typically developing brother, never really understood why he couldn't attend all of his brother's appointments. He always thought that his older brother was getting all of the attention. He was so incredibly proud to attend his first ever event with his brother this time. I cannot express to you how important this was for our entire family. It literally brought tears to my eyes when my 5-year-old described how it felt to catch his first fish. He described how much fun it was to be with his brother and share this experience together. He literally said to me, "Mom, I want camp every day." He really doesn't want to wait till next year. And with our autistic son, he was able to thrive in an unorthodox environment. His ability to generalize at camp was very important towards his development. His participation in activities that we never thought he could do. We were blown away with the quality of the crafts that they did. We will keep their beautiful woodwork that they helped put together forever. Overall, we can't say enough great things about this experience. We are truly thankful for you all for welcoming both of our boys into this program. It has been an absolute blessing. And so that's what we want to do, is encourage more families to participate, make it easier to register, and make it easier for us to track volunteers as well.
Right, like Nancy said, we're going to take their existing paper registration process for both volunteers and campers, and we are going to make a web-based application that will also allow them to pay online, so she doesn't have to deal with checks either. I have everything set up to use Microsoft in the cloud and Azure. I was thinking .NET, but I am open to ideas. So essentially what I want is people with ideas who are willing to lend a hand and help this poor woman to have a better registration process. Poor woman. Oh. This wonderful woman.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Gorman Heritage Farm. They're represented as Evan Brothers.
Thank you so much for being here. We're so excited to be a part of this. The nonprofits here are so awesome. I think I'm very honored to be on that list with all of these other fantastic people and organizations. My name is Evan. I work for Gorman Heritage Farm. We are a 122-acre nonprofit historic farm right in Cincinnati, right in the city limit. So I just want to do a quick survey. Raise your hand if you've ever touched a chicken. Okay, cool. Okay, hands down. Raise your hand if you've ever touched a goat. Okay, hands down. Raise your hand if you've ever milked a goat. Okay, it's a little bit lower. Raise your hand if you've ever been stung by a bee. Okay, hands down. Raise your hand if you've ever harvested honey from a beehive. Okay, great. So imagine the individuals in this room. You've had a lot of time and a lot of experiences to do these things. One of the things that we do at Gorman Heritage Farm is we make sure that we are the place where children from Cincinnati and surrounding areas can come and do these amazing things, learn where their food comes from, understand why it's important to know your farmer, understand why it's important to think about how your food is being made. We don't, I think our philosophy is not to push any particular agenda on children, but to give them the experiences and the opportunity to learn all there is to learn on a farm. A lot of that has to do with STEM, especially with girls. We work with the Cincinnati Nature Center as well as the Cincinnati Museum Center. We have STEM programs. We also do summer day camps, which are amazing. If you have kids who love running them up on the farm, it's a fantastic place for them to do that. We also have school groups, so we serve over 6,500 school children every single year who come to our farm. During the school year, we are typically filled up from Tuesday to Friday for 6 months out of the year. We are using a system currently that was built in 2004, using a programming language I haven't met anyone who knows named Deluge. I think that it's like a time machine using the system that we have. The end user are teachers who want their children to have this experience. Some of the complexities of the system are that it's a scheduling system. We have different programs available to different age groups, and those different programs have different time limits on what we offer. So there's some conditional logic involved. There are some complexities that make it a little bit more difficult for just an Excel spreadsheet-based system. So I'll let Julian talk more about what he's thinking, and I'm just so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
So we're going to build them a web-based application, a portal for the teachers to be able to register for these programs. I'm thinking, some type of open source model view controller type of framework. Like, I know Python Django. That's sort of my sweet spot. So if we have some Pythonistas that want to work on that, great. We have a bunch of PHP people who would rather do something with Laravel or Cake. I'm open to ideas. So, and we're going to integrate with Square for them to collect deposits. So if anyone with experience working with Square, you've got it.
Next up, we have Homeful. Their representative is John Patterson.
Hello. First of all, I'm going to echo the sentiments of all the other nonprofits. It's pretty exciting to be here. We're very appreciative of all your work that's going to happen this weekend. Homeful is a nonprofit. It's about 30 years old, located in Dayton, Ohio. We provide services for anyone that's at any point on the continuum of homelessness. We work with single adults, men and women, as well as families with children that are either at risk of homelessness through losing their housing, and we'll provide support services to try to keep them in their housing. We also work with people that are currently homeless in the emergency shelters, providing them supportive services to get them housed, linked to other services in the community, as well as employment, things like that. We also work with people that are formerly homeless by providing services once they're housed to keep them in their housing. One of the things that I think that came out of Homeful being around for 30 years, and we have most of our administrative staff has been with the organization for at least 12 to 15 years. And so with that, we don't like to call ourselves old, but seasoned veterans. A lot of smaller nonprofits around the country have come to us and said, how do you do what you do? Because actually Dayton, Montgomery County is actually known nationally as having very high outcomes in working with homeless population. So a couple of years ago, we formalized a division of Homeful called Homeful Innovations, which is actually a consulting division. And some of our staff work with small nonprofits as well as large municipalities, such as the city of St. Louis and actually the entire state of Indiana, to help them build their capacity as well. And with this consulting division has generated significant revenue, which we've been able to basically put back into the organization for direct services for our clients. And right now, our web pages within our own website are more or less inadequate, don't really show the innovative nature of that division. So we're looking to build out those pages so that it reflects, the creativity and the innovation that comes with that division. So I did not bring cookies, but I will be driving back to Dayton tonight. I have significant access to Esther Price candy, so I am willing to leverage that relationship at all possible. So I'll turn it over to Kevin.
I was unaware of the previous. That's definitely a good reason to join. So I'm glad Alan is doing a WordPress site, because we're also going to be doing a lot of WordPress. And one of the stretch goals for this weekend is to get the client portal up and running for them so they can get their services, their partners log in and have access to their documents. So WordPress, and if we can get a client portal up with a single sign-on with Facebook, we will to look at that. That's what we're going to try to do this weekend.
One thing I wanted to say too that I forgot to mention is part of our mission is to educate people about homelessness and try to dispel a lot of those myths. And so we always challenge people and ask them questions and see what people think of it. If you were to picture someone that's homeless in your mind, think about what you would picture. And then I'm going to ask a question, see who gets the closest. What do you think the average age of a homeless person is? Someone said 60? 17, 36?
30.
Did someone say 8? The average age of a homeless person is 9 years old. 40% of the homeless population are families with children, and the majority of those children are below 5 years old. So homelessness is not the person sleeping on the streets typically, or the person pushing a grocery cart, things like that. It's families with children that are most affected. So our agency works, with these children and these families to try to keep them housed and so forth. And this division of Homeful really will help go directly towards helping those families and children especially. So, thank you.
Next up is Learning Tree Farm. Their representative is Laura Lynn Hickey.
Thank you for having us here today. I'm from the Learning Tree Farm. We are a hands-on farm. Our mission is to provide hands-on learning in a traditional farm setting, so very much like Foreman Farm. It has been around since 1973, but it's only been in the last 10 years that we've had a professional staff. It was started by 2 Catholic nuns who taught in the Dayton community, and realized that there was a need for open spaces for the students who are learning in Dayton, Ohio. So they started with 200 students who would come out to the farm for a week or 2. Now we do primarily a 3-hour field trip, so it's mostly schools. We just opened a nature preschool where we have students on site 4 days a week and use the entire farm as part of their classroom. So we've seen significant growth just in the last 4 years between the preschool and having staff who can handle those things. I am still the only full-time person, and we have a staff of about 28 part-time, so we do what we can with what we've got. So we did get a new website in 2014, but we've already outgrown it. We started out with about 6,000 visitors a year. Back when I started about 10 years ago, we are now up to about 15,000. So we have found that this website that we developed even just a few years ago is not flexible enough for us to make changes ourselves, and we also need a much better interactive registration process. So that's what we're hoping for you to do for us today.
This is a really cool project, and I'm extremely excited to work on it. This kind of runs the gambit through a lot of different things that we're looking at from a technical perspective. So if there's any UX researchers here, that's going to be key, because information architecture for this and really being able to navigate the different tabs and all the great information, knowing what to showcase, how to showcase it is going to be the main focus. That being said, obviously we're going to focus a lot on aesthetics. UX is going to be huge. That's something that we'd really like to take up a notch. It looks pretty good so far, but of course we'd like to make it super, super responsive, have that nice look, modern look, very interactive. A couple of the other technical items that we're looking at are just really updating that calendar, and then that registration are going to be 2 other key factors that we're looking at. So from a technology stack, we're probably going to be working with a lot of JavaScript, a lot of CSS, so anything on that front end is really what we're going to be focusing on. So I hope that you guys will be interested in this project with us.
Next up, we have the Miami Valley Nonprofit Collaborative. The representative is Jenny Warner.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jenny Warner. I am the founder and the coordinator of the Miami Valley Nonprofit Collaborative in Dayton, Ohio. We are a relatively young nonprofit. We're basically less than 3 years old, so we won't be 3 until early 2018. We are a nonprofit organization that trains and equips other nonprofit organizations in the greater Dayton area. I have a background in human resources and training and development, and then I also I've worked in nonprofits for a long time, so a few years ago, really saw that nonprofit organizations don't have the same kind of training and professional development opportunities as for-profits do. We simply don't have the resources for that. And so myself and a series of partners came together to recognize that there's some stuff going on in the greater Dayton area to train and equip nonprofits, as well as the professionals and volunteers that work in them. Homeful is a great example. So, you know, we need to, number one, just have a website or some sort of presence, some sort of organization that communicates and coordinates what is already available in the greater Dayton area. So one nonprofit can go one place, see what kinds of trainings, professional events, networking opportunities, great news, you know, going on, you know, that's available. The other thing we found is that nonprofits are hungry just to come together and network. We all learn from one another when we get together in the same room. Hey, who are you? What do you do? Maybe we can partner, you know, lessons, share lessons learned, that sort of thing. So we've created some breakfast gatherings, other kinds of networking events to bring people together, bring the community together and learn from one another. And then another gap that I saw was in leadership development. So nonprofits are really struggling just to even, you know, keep the lights on and pay operational kinds of bills. Like Nancy said, she's the only full-time employee within her organization. It's very tough for nonprofits to invest in their staff and further develop their staff. So that is a gap that we are filling as well. So we communicate, number one, what's going on in the community. Our two keywords are affordable and accessible. So again, a lot of what's available is not affordable for a nonprofit organization. So for example, you know, with Homeful, we have promoted their trainings through their Homeful innovations. They're local, so they're accessible, and they're also still affordable, and then they go back to support Homeful's programs and services. So great, you know, social enterprise. We communicated Southwest Ohio GiveCamp, you know, when that opportunity and applications, you know, came around. We made sure that, you know, the over 800 people on our mailing list knew that this opportunity was available. Did any of you hear about it? Any Dayton area through the collaborative? Maybe Nancy did? Okay, awesome. So that's just the kind of thing that we try to do. And kind of funny story is I was blasting this out in our monthly e-blast, and I was homesick one day actually doing that. I'm a volunteer. And I was sitting in my recliner in my PJs thinking, why am I not applying for this myself? We need a website desperately. So, you know, so we did that day. So we also then create other kinds of programs, again, that are unduplicated in terms of trainings, half-day trainings, leadership development workshops, you know, that sort of thing. My daughter and I built our website 3 years ago. We just went to a coffee shop. She knew nothing about it. I really knew nothing about it. People kept telling us about WordPress. It's free. We had no money, so that really spoke to us. And we just sat down in a coffee shop and kind of knocked it out, you know, in the morning. So enough said. So our website really looks like that's what we did. Initially, we were really just putting a lot of information out there about where to go, who to see, who does what in the community. As Neil had said on our team, that you know, really it's just a lot of communication. So that's what our website really looks like right now. Since that time, we've done so many things in terms of bringing people together and learning and leadership development cohorts, all that sort of thing. So our website really does not capture the kind of impact we're having on nonprofits locally. So we need a much more you know, professional-looking website and to really tell our story about how we tool and equip nonprofits, but affordably and accessibly. So that's what we do.
As Jenny mentioned, the current website is in WordPress, so we're continuing with that. We want to update it, give it a facelift, so we're going to be applying a new theme. We're going to be updating organization and kind of working to organize the content, kind of revisit some of the content, make sure that everything on there is relevant and really shares what Jenny is trying to do with the organization. The other piece that's going to be neat is that we're setting up what we're calling the Care to Share section. And so this is something that Jenny has already kind of started to set up, but without a formalized process. And so the Care to Share is going to be linking nonprofits who have extra materials or resources to help other nonprofits. So say a nonprofit is a donation of you know, a ton of printer paper or something like that. They're able to use 2 or 3 boxes themselves, but they don't need all 30 boxes. So they can offer on Care to Share, basically kind of a Craigslist or something for nonprofits, you know, we have this donation, we can't use it ourselves, it's taking up space, who else can use us in order to kind of help share resources. Users would also be able to post if there's something that they're looking for their organization. And they want to see if anybody else has, you know, those items available to help them out. So with that, we're looking to add, we need to have a layer of security on it. We need to have users log in. They need to be, when they first are set up, they need to be approved by Jenny as actually working with a nonprofit in order to be able to post and view postings and contact posters and stuff like that. The other piece that might lead into kind of our stretch goal is being able to set up some type of membership portal as a looking for the future enhancements to the organization.
Next up, we have Neighborhoods Over Politics. Their representative is Jim Garrison.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jamaica Garrison. I'm one of 3 co-founders and current board members of Neighborhoods Over Politics. Thank you all for having us, Southwest GiveCamp. Thank you for selecting us. We were overly ecstatic when we found out we were selected. Oh, if you know the struggles. The struggles. The struggles. What I want to say. Okay, so how many of you guys are from Dayton, Ohio? How many of you guys remember when Dayton, Ohio was deemed and named City Beautiful? Are you old enough to remember when it was? I am, and I'm not that old. City Beautiful. So the 2 young ladies and myself that started the organization because we're born and raised in the city of Dayton, and we got tired of the conditions of our neighborhoods. Hence the name Neighborhoods Over Politics. So we started in 2015 actually with going around getting signatures to petition city leadership to be more accountable with the basic services that they're supposed to offer for the city of Dayton residents. And in addition to that, we partnered with residents to also engage and empower them to help them understand the role that we play as residents as well in that process and that partnership. So through our efforts, what we seek to do is we're kind of like a larger neighborhood association, if you will. How many neighborhoods are in the city of Dayton, for those of you who are familiar? There are 65 neighborhoods. Out of 65 neighborhoods, 34 are distressed. So what our target is to start with the most distressed areas and try to collaborate with community leaders, with residents, with organizations to help bring back the beautification of our area. So we do beautification projects, we do forums around issues. For example, when they had an issue last year about issue 2 and raising the city of Dayton taxes, we held a forum because our purpose is to also educate. So we want our residents to be empowered to understand you have to be a part of the process. You also need to, number 1, know what your rights are, and then hold our leaders accountable, but also partner because we have a role to play as residents, as homeowners, as renters in the city as well to bring our city back to City Beautiful. And that is our mission, that is our goal. So the project for us, we currently have a website. And let me say this, the co-founders and myself, we all have full-time jobs. We're all married, we all have children, one is widowed. And we have a board, but unfortunately in this learning process, we don't have a very active board. So we carry a lot of the weight. We literally work full-time on a nonprofit outside of our full-time jobs and juggle family, children, and all that good stuff. So understand the struggle. The struggle is real. So the website, we actually paid somebody $500 to help us with our website. The problem is the website is Joomla-based, and it's very difficult to navigate. So it's hard to attract a lot of collaborators, a lot of residents. It's hard to navigate. I'll just show you real quick. Under our meeting times and events, to update this, you literally have to rearrange what's already on there. So we had a Rock the Vote rally, and we put a survey out there to capture the results. So one of the key, and one of the reasons why you guys should choose Neighborhoods Over Politics is because I have a minor in IT. So you know what that means? We'll get done a lot quicker. Less questions asked. And I actually used to manage Montgomery County's website for Joomla, but this is a different background. It just looks foreign. I'm just like, I have no clue what all this is. So that's our objective, to make it more user-friendly, to be able to track volunteers, to track projects, to actually do location of where these projects are, to help with volunteer recruitment, so they can easily go in there, sign up for the project, what days and times they're available. We want to be able to capture survey information so that we can really track the impact of what we're doing. We did do a beautification project in Dayton, right behind the Wright Dunbar area at the old gas station on Broadway and 2nd for you guys who are familiar. And it just looked hideous when you drive past. So we took the flower beds, we were awarded a grant to plant flowers, and when I drive past there on my way home every day, and I'm just like, oh, that just looks so nice. So those are the types of things we want to continue to do to help beautify. We also partner with other organizations as far as getting their information out when they do cleanups, like Dayton Inspires, and different organizations like that, rebuilding Dayton together. So we're just trying to, again, bring the city of Dayton back, especially the neighborhood more so, to City Beautiful. And I'll let him talk about the technical stuff.
All right. As stated, they currently have a Joomla site, so we are looking to move them to a WordPress site. Big shock. But what they are prepared to pay for is they're ready to pay for the Cornerstone theme, which I presume is good because it costs money. But what we really need is someone to help assemble and style it and all that kind of stuff. We've got a rough idea of what we want the new site to look like. And I'm not a web designer, so we would love to have, particularly if you're familiar with the Cornerstone theme, which I'm not. On the other hand, as also stated, we have a number of things that we would like to have kept track of in a database. So we've got projects and events and that kind of stuff. And we've kind of got a progressive list of to-do items. If we can get those done, we will move on to a volunteer database with perhaps looking at a MailChimp plugin or interface. On top of that, if we can get the volunteer stuff done, then we hopefully can get some time tracking and expense tracking and all that kind of stuff. So we've got a pretty nice big to-do list, so we just need some help with it.
Next up, we have Project Search. The representative is Mary Ellen Daston.
Thank you. Wow, so many great organizations. My head is spinning. I'm glad I don't have your job of choosing one. So I work with Project Search. My partner, Sandy Beard, here. We have offices at Cincinnati Children's Hospital where Project Search started. The goal of Project Search is to help young people with intellectual and developmental disabilities find real, meaningful jobs and competitive employment. It started at Children's because our founder, who isn't here tonight, Erin Riley, she was a nurse. She'll be here on Sunday for the closing ceremonies. Erin was a nurse and she was the director of the Children's Hospital emergency department. And she looked around and realized that they served a lot of patients who had developmental disabilities, but their workforce didn't reflect their patient population, and she felt like it's a matter of justice that they hire people with developmental disabilities. And she was not a disability employment expert. She didn't really know about it. She started looking around for resources in the community and met her partner, Susie Rutkowski, the co-founder, who was working as a special ed director at Great Oaks at the time. And the two of them came up with a system for preparing young people for employment. And they started, because Erin was new and was just doing what was good for the business and she was doing things in a different way. She looked around at the transition services that were available for young people and found that the system wasn't really serving either the young people with disabilities or the employers very well. There were several agencies starting with the schools and Voc Rehab who had responsibility for training young people with disabilities to go into the workforce. but they had different priorities, they weren't necessarily working together, and a lot of young people were falling through the cracks. So they worked on a system of where bringing all the people together, all of the different organizations together to develop this program model that involves a very extensive period of training in an actual workplace for the young people with disabilities, and creating an atmosphere of high expectations. And they found that they were getting great outcomes, and the young people were doing jobs that nobody ever thought that someone with Down syndrome or autism or other developmental disabilities could do, and they were working in all over the hospital, in the emergency room, stocking rooms, in clinical sterilization, preparing surgical kits, and just all sorts of complex work. Because of the nature of the Project Search model, it was really changing things. When they first started and they had this idea of bringing a group of young people into the hospital for training, bringing all these organizations together who weren't used to working together, a lot of people were saying, no, you can't do it, that's not how we do it, that's not allowed, we can't do that, no, and they kept going and did it anyway, and started getting such great results that they started getting people asking them, how are you doing that? We want to do it too. And then Project Search started growing at that point when people started wanting to learn about it. And now what we do from our offices in Children's, we still have the original Project Search program, but now part of the mission of our organization is to train other groups to do the same thing in their communities. And we've gone from one program at Cincinnati Children's to over 500 program sites in hospitals and businesses all over the United States and all over the world. So we still have a very small office, but the program has been replicated. We have a handful of people, about 13 people on our team. So we make a big impact with a very small group of people. We are part of Cincinnati Children's. Technically, they give us a place to work in offices and some business support, but as you can imagine, we're not part of the core mission of the hospital. We have our own mission, and we have to interact and to keep model fidelity in this growing network of programs. Our website, which is why we're here, is very important as a communication tool, not only for people who are interested in being a part of Project Search as a person with a disability or a family member, or someone who wants to start a Project Search program in their area. We have to communicate with the general public. We also have a password-protected area for people who have licensed Project Search sites, can log in and enter and use our education tools that we create and enter data into our database. So it's kind of a dual purpose website. Our current one is sort of out of date and antiquated and difficult to use and very difficult for us to update. And we have a very dynamic program that changes. We're always adding new resources, we're developing new things, and we rely heavily on our database, and we really need a website that's a better communication tool and easier for us to work with. And
so if you want to be part of something that really has a global reach, come help Project Search. We unabashedly, proudly are going to WordPress. Okay? We're not denying it, we're not making fun of it, it's a great tool. So, especially given what they're on right now, WordPress is wonderful. So, we have about 30 pages to convert. The content is mostly static, so if you're looking for something sexy, a lot of back-end stuff, we're not the project for you. But if you're new and you came here because you wanted to do good in the world and you don't consider yourself really techie, this is a great opportunity to come learn WordPress and learn how to work in it and make it work. That said, however, we don't have any heavy WordPress techies on the team that we have right now, so we could use one of those. And I guess if there is one sexy thing that would make these ladies really happy, They want an interactive global map, so you can drill down just by clicks. So if you know how to do that in WordPress, come see us and make them very happy. Since our work is pretty straightforward, if you get probably bored, but if you're working on another project and you're waiting for somebody else to do something and want to come help us out for an hour and learn a little about WordPress, feel free to come join us. Okay.
I was just going to say, it's another enticement. We have lots of leftover cool swag from our conference that we will share with our little group.
You might get it back.
Next up is Rosemary's Babies. The representative is Rosemary Ogilvie Henry.
Well, good evening. Hello. And so I'm supposed to get hyped up because my name is like awesome. How many of you know the movie? I know, right? So either I get this like, yeah, or I get this, oh my God, why did she name her company after a devil movie, like with a devil baby? And so that kind of walks you into Rosemary's Baby supports teen parents, parents of teen parents. Wait a minute. Yeah, teen parents, parents of teen parents and their children. Why did I start it? I was a teen mom. No, my daughter wasn't a devil baby, but it was an untimely expectation. And what do when you get to where you're supposed to be? You reach back and you pull other people back up. I found out about GiveCamp when I was nominated for 40 Under 40 this year. My organization is not even one yet. And when I met somebody from Ignite Philanthropy, did I say that right? They were like, hey, you should apply for GiveCamp. Because I told them a story of, and I don't know how many of this has ever happened to you, but I started my nonprofit and I trusted a person that said they could build me an app, a website, and a database system, and I gave them my $2,000 and they left. And so what do you do when you're about to launch and you're an online global platform and you said, we're gonna launch an app too? You build your app yourself, you build your website yourself, and you keep moving. And when you come across people that offer you kindness and an organization like GiveCamp that says, we're gonna help you build your database, after you stop crying, you sit up there and you prepare and you meet with this wonderful gentleman, Mark, who has been patient with me and has met up with me several times. I appreciate you all so much. Don't be scared of the name. Don't be scared of the mission. Like our page, share it, get to know me. I'm awesome. And so here's my...
Thank you. I don't have to sell this product anymore. So we want to help Rosemary and her volunteer leaders to work with the teen parents and create a tool for them to enter and track data and interactions with their clients. And so what we're going to do is to install a WordPress site and on top of that a CRM system called CV CRM. It's a free open source CRM application that hopefully has most of it built in, that we can just configure it based on the needs, but it's also extendable and you can custom develop if there's a need for it. And it's written in PHP mainly, and front end I think it's Angular 2. But there's a lot of documentation around that, how to extend that if we need to. But basically we want to configure it so that we have a good, solid contact management component in it so that they can track all their data. And if we have time, we might also add some of the contribution management module components in there and volunteer management as well, but the focus is on the contacts. So, thank you.
Next up is Sunlight Village.
Hi, my name is Robbie Brandon. I'm a registered nurse, and Sunlight Village was brought to life in 2006. It was just a group of providers, therapists, counselors who just didn't, and we worked in the mental health field, and we just didn't see the resources in our community. So we thought we would do this great thing by just starting an organization and doing support groups. Well, that didn't work, because when we opened the support groups, which was focused on youth and young adults, we had seniors, we had retired people, we had people from the military, we had grandparents, we had all kinds of folks. So we founded Sunlight Village for a purpose of education and awareness, and as a founder and executive director, we had to move that quickly into another realm because the need was so great. So in 2013, we started, well, we've been out here doing all this advocacy, and we've been doing education and awareness. So we decided to just open our doors and start doing billable services. And when we did that, we opened a can of worms. Because we thought we'd generate enough revenue to do support groups and to do activities in the community. Well, people had insurance, but people who had Anthem or, like my Anthem here. But if you had Anthem and you had a $3,000 deductible, you still couldn't find a provider. Or if you were transitioning from children's services into something else, into another care system, you would lose your benefit. So there were so many different variables that left our parents without the ability to pay, especially for mental health care. So we started doing billable services. We realized that our families were also in major need of other social services. So what Sunlight Village did was we hunkered in and we decided to provide services right in the heart of West Dayton. Because if you're not aware of this, Dayton is the 9th hungriest city in the nation. We're failing in our schools. We have children being suspended every day from kindergarten to 3rd grade. We have a really high rate of youth and young adults who are incarcerated with mental health issues. And all this stems from stress and poverty and things like that. We didn't always neglect our mental health, but our mental health is what drives our entire body. So we're hunkering in and we're determined to improve education and awareness, break the stigmas and barriers so that we can reach families, so we can reach parents. We can't fix a child. We can get a child in for counseling and therapy, but it takes that whole family and that community to wrap their arms around that child to decrease the number of suicides, to help children understand that trauma and stress does affect them and teach the community on how to care for those kids who've been affected by these problems. So I could be here all day talking about what's going on in the mental health realm, but our main goal is to make sure that we reach families and children, especially in West Dayton, where there's so much stigma in the African American community about mental health, that we gotta break those stigmas. We're not saying people are crazy, we're saying we just need to be able to help you get through whatever it is you're going through. And so we have a small population, but we wrap our arms around those patients and clients that we see, and we want to be able to reach more youth and young adults, especially families who have children who are struggling with mental, emotional, and behavioral disorders. I'll let you, this is Monika, she's one of our therapists, I love her. She said she wasn't getting up, but then she did.
Oh, hi everybody. My name is Monika. I'm one of the therapists at Sunlight Village. So I work a lot with our youth and young adults who are struggling with emotional or behavioral health concerns. So we work on social emotional learning with the students in either a school-based atmosphere or they come to Sunlight Village and we work one-on-one. We also provide a lot of education to parents around how the brain impacts development, because a lot of parents don't understand that the cognitive development of a child impacts their behavior in the classroom and their behavior at home. So we work on those things. We also try to increase the attachment between parents and their children, because parents are their first educator of children. So we try to re-engage them and have those meaningful engagements and attachments with children to make sure that they're successful at home and at school and in the community. So that's basically what I do.
One last piece I want to add is I talk a little bit about how the community causes a lot of the stress and the trauma that our children are dealing with. We decided to create a branch called the West Dayton Health Promotion Partnership. And that way, Sunlight Village can focus on the mental health piece, and West Dayton Health Promotion Partnership can focus on the social determinants of health. So we are in the DeSoto Baths, which is one of our housing communities, one of the most impoverished areas, and we're doing after-school and summer school programs. We're doing a food pantry partnering with Marketplace Movement Church so that we can make sure that those families that we're dealing with who are struggling with not having enough food are able to get it. And we're also working in Montgomery County juvenile courts so that we can work with children as they transition out of the court system, making sure they have the mental health wraparound services that they need and supporting for their parents. Yeah, I know.
Check the mic. This one.
I have a big enough mouth.
I can just talk about it. That's all right. So she does a lot of stuff. We're going to help her with the website. We're going to do the same thing. Take Joomla, I believe it was, turn it into WordPress, make it much better, and we are going to own it, right? We're also going to give her a little system, probably built in .NET. That's what I know. But if you know something else, that's fine too. To help her communicate, she needs to be able to help people, remind them of appointments, tell them about things that are going on. So we're gonna get a little website, a little website in WordPress, and just a little application for her to help communicate. And then some various small things. She wants to do a podcast, YouTube. We're gonna set all that up where from WordPress you can publish all these things and get the word out and get the information out, because there are multiple things that they do. It's kind of ridiculous listening to them, because they've got this main focus, but then there are all these other things that she's into, because you can't focus without you're hungry, or anyway, lots of different things. So we got children come in, get information, and then parents come in to get people, get the children help. So that's that part of helping.
We have a new battery. We're running a little long, so we ran out of battery. Next up is Violence Free Coalition of Warren County. Their representative is Deona Bethard.
Wow, I am so thrilled to be here. I can't even tell you how excited I was when I found out that our application was accepted. My name is Deanna, and I work with the Violence Free Coalition, which is actually the prevention department of the Abuse and Rape Crisis Shelter here in Southwest Ohio. So how many of you are familiar with #MeToo? So that's kind of been an eye-opener in the last several days. And what I have the privilege of doing with the Violence Free Coalition is going in and working with elementary school kids, middle school kids, and high school kids in an attempt to make sure that 4 or 5 years from now, if someone tries to get Me Too trending again, they can't, because people don't have these stories. So we have a program called Redo Day, and it is billed as an anti-bullying character education event. I think it's so much more than that. We go into schools for 6 hours, and instead of just standing up and saying, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, do this, but don't do this, which, how many of you as a teenager were ever told don't do something and then you went out and did it? I'll confess, like totally. But we believe that for them to really understand and to take respect back into their lives, that they have to have an experience with it. We also know that many of the schools that we go into, these students feel like they're alone. They feel like nobody sees them, nobody knows them, nobody cares about them. We believe that part of this day is just for them to get attention from an adult that thinks that they are worth the time to sit down and spend time with for 6 hours. So we do talks on stereotypes. What are the biases that we have that may lead us to certain choices or actions? Are we includers or are we excluders? Are we authentic with people? Do we look at people for just what we can see, or do we realize that behind every face is a story? We talk about, communication. How are the ways that we communicate? And are we someone that's trustworthy if someone tells us something? And then we really give the students the opportunity to share their stories in a way that's safe, in a way that you can know that someone else is going through the same thing you're going through. You're not alone. you can look at someone and say, oh my gosh, I thought this person was perfect. They had the perfect life. I didn't realize that these were the struggles that they dealt with every single day. We go to about 23 schools a year. We cover about 5 counties in Southwest Ohio. And one of the things that we know about our program is that it is a one-day event. It's an incredibly powerful event, but it's just a catalyst. And so at the end of the event, we give them the opportunity to create a take action plan. And it's on a piece of paper, very analog. If you could see the penmanship of middle school and high schoolers, it's pretty much non-existent in this era. So they have a hard time reading it themselves. And half the time we leave and the paper's on the floor, gets put in a pocket and thrown in the washing machine and all sorts of things. But we really believe that we need to put respect in action. It's not enough just to have this aha moment of how we want to treat people, but we actually need to make steps and set a goal and create a vision for these students so that they can go out and they can live the message of tolerance and respect. And so that is what we are trying to develop this weekend, is an app for the students. We know that they carry their phones with them pretty much everywhere. And we want them to be able to use this app not only for accountability, so we want them to be able to put in an item, an action step that they are committing to, and to be able to share that with someone to hold them accountable, to have a reminder pop up certain times throughout the week or throughout the month that says, hey, you said you were going to do this. Are you in fact doing it? And if they can answer yes, we want them to be able to share that. There's a lot of negative news out in the world today. Wouldn't it be great if kids started posting the positive things that they're doing? They said, hey, I made a commitment to start asking people their names and inviting them to sit with me at lunch. And that may seem like a small thing, but for someone who's felt excluded their entire life, that's a huge thing. And if they can say, yes, I did that, and post that on social media and celebrate that and have their friends like it and celebrate it with them, we think that it's going to start creating change in communities. So that is kind of our goal. We'd also like to use it as a way to stay in contact with these kids. I am one person. I cannot be in all of these 23 schools beyond the day of the event. But if I can push them a piece of encouragement, if I can throw a little shareable item with a positive quote that they can look at and see throughout the day, that they can then go and share on their social media platforms and keep this message going, I think that the impact of our program could be exponential.
Okay, so we're going to build 2 apps actually, one for this phone, one for this other phone. So it'll be a little bit of Java, a little bit of Swift, maybe Kotlin.
And last but not least, we are working in neighborhoods. The representative is Rigel Behrens.
That's right. Awesome. Hi. So I'm Rigel Behrens. I'm a community development planner at Working in Neighborhoods, and this is my partner in crime, Nancy. She heads our development department. And we are also the de facto web admins for our organization, because we said we would, not because we know what we're doing. Working in Neighborhoods was founded in 1978 by Sister Barbara Bush. We got our start as an organization that worked with folks in communities to make changes for the better in their neighborhoods. We are a grassroots, bottom-up community development organization. We're also a HUD certified housing counseling agency. All of the services that we currently offer, and there are a lot of them, come from our work with our neighbors and the people who live in the communities where we're working in Cincinnati. Some of our projects and programs are very place-based and neighborhood-specific. We do housing development. We build and rehab new homes for first-time home buyers. We've done about 160 of those over our history in specific neighborhoods. We provide training for first-time home buyers because A lot of our folks might be the first folks who've ever owned in their family a new home, and you don't necessarily know how to do that out of the box. So we provide that kind of education. We do energy education so people can save bills on their energy bills, save money on their energy bills and maintain their housing. We do community planning work and direct work with community councils and lots of programs around that. So one of our challenges is because we do a lot of different things and some of our programs are multi-county and some of them are very specific to particular neighborhoods. How do we communicate who we are and what we do in a way that makes sense, that people can find the information as from the client or the resident side, people who want to help us do that work from the donor and the volunteer side, and keep track of it. So we want to kind of focus on our mission, which is a threefold: home ownership, financial education, and community building work really are the core of who we are, and how do we organize our front-facing web presence to communicate that.
Hi. How you doing? Good, how are you? I'm making fast, I'm hungry too. All right, we are doing WordPress, we are buying a theme. It is really nice, the code is really clean and easy to work with. They have an existing Salesforce platform that they would like to be able to integrate into this in certain areas like volunteers. They do have an existing PayPal account we want to be able to integrate so that they get donations. It'd be really awesome if it wasn't ugly, because right now it kind of is ugly. And also, I have chained a UX person to the table who is not, no seriously, I chained him, it was cool. Yeah, he was stupid enough to make eye contact. But he is actually currently going through and starting to think about how do we organize all this information in a meaningful way. And again, it's how do we get the people who need the services connected to the services, how do we get the people who wish to donate their money, connected with our pocketbook, and how do we get the people that wish to donate their time formatted in such a way so that they know about it, and the people who need to volunteer know about it, and everybody is doing their thing together. So, what I really need, people that can do with me, who don't mind being chained to a table, who can do some WordPress stuff, who maybe have a Salesforce background that can help with an integration, that want to be able to do some amazing work inside of Cincinnati for people who are really attempting to make a difference in their communities.
Show of hands, who's homeowners in here? Okay, of those who didn't raise their hands, raise your hands. We don't have donuts or Esther Price or what was the other one? Cookies, but we can get you in the house.
All right, so when you sign up for these teams, where are you going to go? That's the next question. We have one classroom on the far end, this direction. That is the farm room and the mobile. I don't want mobile for the farm, but that's just the way it happens. So, Good Works Farm, Gorman Heritage Farm, Learning Tree Farm, and Violence Free Coalition are all down at this end on the left side. All the other nonprofits are on this end. The last two rooms are the WordPress rooms. We tried to group technologies together so that way some of the teams can work together. I put the farms together on purpose because I thought some of them might be able to work together and use each other's solutions, possibly even. So that's the map after we pick teams, I'll pull this back up so you know where they're going. Logistics, we've gone over this. Team leads, the note for this, we're going to stand ups in the command center. It says every 2 hours we adjust the schedule based on how progress is. The first one's going to be at 9:30. That's the most important thing to know at this time. We'll decide then when the next one is. We'll also have in the command center a job board, so if someone needs some other skill, come in there, let us know. We'll make a list and try to see if we can find it. If you're leaving and you want to come back later and say if you need someone that needs this particular thing, come let us know. We'll take your phone number down and call you if someone has that need. Remind you that we're closing at midnight Saturday. And then we have dinner now, but if you have any other special dietary needs, let us know. If we don't have something to accommodate, we'll see if we can do for tomorrow and Sunday. So, quickly, lessons learned at GiveCamp from previous GiveCamps. The first one is we operate by the Las Vegas rule. What happens at GiveCamp stays at GiveCamp. Meaning you volunteered your time for this weekend. You should not feel like you're obligated to serve the nonprofit the rest of the year round sort of thing. If you want to, that's great. If you don't want to, that's fine too. I have a We're gonna have a minute or two in a second with another organization that can help out some of those nonprofits year-round that's new. Some projects in the past are wasted because of training. I said this earlier. That is the most important thing to do on Sunday, is make sure you do training. Because if they're not maintainable and the people aren't trained, they're not going to use them. We've heard from many nonprofits already, they have websites, they don't know how to use them, so now we're looking for new ones that are simpler and easier to use. Have it deployable early and often. Very compressed development time frame, so get minimum acceptable product done and then add things onto it from there. And then if you have downtime, one of the other people said, if you have downtime, come visit us. Everybody's going to have some downtime. It's fine if you want to take a break, but if you want to go help someone out for a while, that's great too. So I said we'd have someone else. Dave, a minute or two here because we're already behind. But since you take this for good, and help some of these other things out the rest of the year, if you guys are interested in volunteering, we'll get the information too.
It's DZ. But, all right, look, I know that we're at dinner, and I'm always on the other end of like, really, we're going to do one more thing right before we eat. I do enjoy that. But
We got one more thing after you.
oh, okay, so don't feel bad then. But real quick, so I work for Max Technical Training, and I work on our Cincy Coded boot camps there. And one of the things that we were looking to do is really continue to develop a little bit more in addition to our capstone. So we had a couple nonprofits that we were just connected to that just kind of fell in our lap where we had some of these folks working on these projects as well. So I have a lot of flyers here about some of the current projects that we're working on. And then this actually started before I really knew about GiveCamp. So I sat down with Matt a little bit afterwards and kind of talked about how we can partner this. So the idea is to have continuity. If you can only stay tonight, or whatever, and you want to continue to do this throughout the year, for any of our colleagues that aren't able to make it tonight or this weekend, we're going to start to meet about every 2 weeks or so. We're going to have called hack and snack events. So we'll just have a bunch of snacks and come over, write code, work on some projects. If you are interested in volunteering, or if for some reason that we aren't able to finish any of your individual projects this weekend, this is a great way to continue some of that work. So feel free. I'll leave them just, I guess, up here.
We'll put them in the command center.
Or we'll put them in the command center, and we'll have some flyers. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to help. Thanks.
All right, so we're up to team selection. So while we're going over the rules, if I can ask the team leads and nonprofits to take your sign and kind of spread yourself out around.